So, as I've mentioned before, Logan's characters have been on a decline, some even on a sharp decline, since the end of the Plush era. Most of Logan's bad characters can be traced back to once decent characters during the Plush era, and most other characters are throwaway characters that appear a couple times ever, or are recycled as generic background characters. Note how I said most though, because there is one group of characters that's the exception to this rule. These characters never got the luxury of even being decent characters in their own right. Unlike most other SML characters which became flanderized, one-note, and just flat-out lazy over time, these characters were like that pretty much from the start. I think we all know who I'm referring to, the Huckerdoos, arguably some of Logan's worst characters in the modern era. And this can't be done alone, so I'm joined today by SML YTP and Jeffy's universe. Let's get started.
Yo, what's up everybody, it's Jeffy's Universe, and now I'm gonna give you guys a brief history on how these things infiltrated and sucked the soul out of anything good we had going on in modern SML. April 16th, 2023, Logan uploaded a video called The Huckerdoos. My first thought when I saw this video was, what the hell am I looking at? And as I clicked on it, I was immediately just annoyed with these characters off the rip. Even though looking back, their first appearance wasn't even nearly as bad as they are about to become. And becoming bad they did, because Logan has since uploaded over 20 Huckerdoo videos. And in every single Huckerdoo video, these characters somehow just become worse and worse. The biggest thing that pisses me off about these characters is how one-dimensional they are. There is absolutely no depth in any of these characters, and this is a sad trend that I've been seeing with every single character in modern SML lately. The wife Huckerdoo is just a hoe, the daughter Huckerdoo is just a whiny kid stereotype, Hank is a stereotypical middle-aged dad, frankly he's the only one I can actually bear, and Timmy. Oh, Timmy. I could talk about Timmy all day, but I think it's better if I pass it off to someone who knows a little bit more about this character than I do. But we're gonna get to that in a minute. First, we gotta talk about Hank Huckerdoo, so I'm gonna pass it back to Dub.
Hank Huckerdoo is the lead of the Huckerdoo household. A lot of his jokes are, like his other family members, very one-note and repetitive. Hank is annoying, stupid, and completely oblivious to what happens with the rest of his family for the most part, or simply just doesn't care. He's the generic dumb father trope which has been done far better many times. In fact, one could argue that Tyrone is just a better version of this, because at least Tyrone has a bit more character than Hank does. Hank feels like a character to be used when the plot has run out of ideas, but they need to shove the Huckerdoos into the video. He's a hollow character that is used only for that one purpose, and not a whole lot else. The one saving grace is that because he's mainly used for brief appearances to drive things forward, he's usually not in videos all that long. However, when he is in a video for any length of time, he gets annoying fast. Obviously, compared to the other Huckerdoos, he's not so bad, but that doesn't mean much since the Huckerdoos are already awful as is, so him being one of the least bad isn't much of a compliment. But there are more Huckerdoos, right? Well, yeah, there are actually 3 others. We have Hank's wife, Suzanne, where nearly her whole joke is how she hates the rest of her family and wants to get with Marvin. Because that trope has never been done before either. She appears even less than Hank, to a point where I basically have nothing else to add. Then of course we have their daughter. Now, tell me, do you remember the daughter Huckerdoo's name? What, you don't? Well, don't worry, I don't think anyone else does either. That's just how forgettable she is. And then of course, there's Timmy.
Hey guys, it's SML YTP, world's largest Timmy Huckerdoo hater here, and I'm going to be talking specifically about the worst Huckerdoo in my opinion, which is Timmy. Timmy is one of the Huckerdoos that has done severe damage not only to his own character, but to other characters as well. His impact on Cody's character is probably one of, if not the worst consequence of the Huckerdoos being introduced as regular characters to the channel. At first, there wasn't many issues with Timmy. He was just kind of there compared to the loudmouths of Hank and Suzanne. However, when he was given a new personality trait, which later became his only personality trait, he immediately plummeted down to the bottom of the barrel. Starting in SML movie Junior the Crazy Boyfriend, Timmy and Cody had went into the closet at the party and fooled around, and this cemented the downfall of both characters. Don't get me wrong, gay jokes and gay characters are not a problem. Cody was an exceptional example of a gay character up until the Crazy Boyfriend video. The gayness was more sporadic. It wasn't Cody's only personality trait, as Cody was one of the most dynamic characters in the show, as well as it wasn't over the top either. Sure, there's the whole thing with Ken. However, that was more humorous than the Timmy and Cody dynamic because Ken was a doll and it was harmless. Cody is overly gay, like probably the amount of two stereotypical gay guys. However, since Ken doesn't talk, it was just enough for the relationship to be carried by Cody on his own just fine. However, having two overly gay characters in a relationship just beats the joke to the ground, as well as starts to put it into obnoxious territory. After Timmy became part of Cody's character, Cody's other traits all vanished. Best examples are Cody's hot dog restaurant and Stink Ken. It's just raunchy gay joke after raunchy gay joke, and the jokes only got more explicit. With Cody, it used to be more subtle and laughable, but now it's just hard to watch. Cody used to be my favorite character of all time. To me, he was the character I'd always feel bad for and defend, and he was, as I said earlier, one of the most dynamic characters. And for him to get flanderized like this, and become one of the worst characters because of Timmy Huckerdoo himself is very disappointing. I hope Logan can break up this relationship and put Timmy back to at least how he was when he was introduced, or even improve him after that, and save Cody from being one of the fallen greats.
The Huckerdoos are a perfect example of what's happened to SML's more recent characters, but even worse. Like I said in my video about Cody, even though the modern characters aren't very good, the legacy they have from before when they were plushes at least still manages to prop them up a bit. What do the Huckerdoos bring to the table, really? Do they really bring so much that they just have to be recurring characters? No, they don't. In fact, I'd argue that the only Huckerdoo that's had any realistic purpose as a recurring character that couldn't be filled by simply having a background character would be Timmy. But as you know, that isn't for good reasons. As for the others though, let's use Jeffy's piano lesson as an easy example. Did this role really need to have the Huckerdoos involved? What role are the Huckerdoos playing here that couldn't very easily be played by another character, even just one of the throwaway ones? Or what about Cody? He already had Ken, and you already heard enough about how much worse Cody's been made by Timmy's existence. The worst part is that I can tell that Logan's, barely, attempting to make the Huckerdoos more fleshed out. But it's either done in the worst ways possible, or each attempt falls flat, in part because it relies on the same jokes that they had before, at which point it isn't really character growth. It seems like Logan can't flesh out characters much, if at all anymore, unless of course it's to make them a stupid stereotype, at which point I'd honestly suggest just writing them out entirely. In fact, if you want my suggestions for how to get rid of the Huckerdoos meet the 12 gauge. If that's a bit too much, then alternatively, the car crash, where someone hits the Huckerdoos with a car and they all perish. And hey, that might make for an actual impactful video, which Logan hasn't done in a long time. And no, don't do the thing where they come back to life or get Deus Ex Machina to Logan. Seriously, I can't stress enough just how awful the Huckerdoos are as characters. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it isn't fair to really call them characters, since they're more like one or two jokes with a puppet and voice attached. Is this really what's become of Logan's characters as a whole? Any pre-existing character becomes flanderized, and any new characters are awful to begin with. Logan set out to make new characters, and didn't even bother to make any of them good in the first place. I really just wish Logan would make good characters once again, but I guess I don't know what I expect anymore. Well, that's all for now though. The Huckerdoos are just terrible, and they should realistically be left to rot in SML history. Of all the characters that have been forgotten with SML history, I'd argue that they'd be the first ones to actually deserve it. In any case, thank you all for watching, and take care.